Hey guys, you probably have watched National Day of Pakistan parade. Happened on 23rd of March 2024, and this is a day which is said to be a very memorable day back in 1940s when uh, a separate country's idea was given the first time in Allahabad, India. At that time, combined India, or yeah, India was the name of that part, or in Hindi or Urdu, we used to call it Hindustan, that combined India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan now. So back then, under the British colonial system, we were part of the UK, or the Great Britain, you could say, where the sun never sets. It was part of that empire at that time. So from 1947 onwards, we used to celebrate that day as the Democratic Day of Pakistan, 23rd of March, every year until Ayub Khan, the first military dictator, when he came into power, he changed that Democracy Day to the Pakistan Day. So since then, the parades have been held, and we display our weaponaries on that day. So it has a great significance, and every time during the military rule, especially, this day is celebrated with all zeal and zest, you could say. So that's a little bit of history about Pakistan Day, why there was a parade on 23rd of March 19, no, not 19, every year. So in 2024, this is post-COVID year. Uh, uh, we did have the parade last year, but not very significant. But this year, this was a after a break of 4 years, and people have seen a lot of things. So there was a little bit of different in this parade. It was not a conventional parade which used to be held. There were many foreign militaries too, showing their way of marching, of course. And also, we didn't display the old and orthodox weaponaries by the military. I mean, the artillery and the infantry forces, Pakistan military. Everything was displayed, which is according to the modern warfares. So the new missiles were shown, the new air defense system was shown, and we have been using that air defense system in latest history. What has ever happened in Pakistan, like the BrahMos missile came in, and we conducted two airstrikes, one in Afghanistan, one in Iran, and it replied back to Indian Balakot incident. So all these modern warfares were introduced. So that was part of the parade. Now, the main part I would come to is the air power shown by Pakistan Air Force. Now, that was very catchy. I don't think so that any kind of air display was shown like this before. In terms of how, it's just for the optics. Uh, the best, I would say, among all the 75 parades we have seen. I haven't seen these many, but I opened my eyes in martial law, General Zal Haq, another military dictator. So since then, you've seen, and I used to live right next to the parade ground, and Rawalpindi race course it was back then. And the takeoff for all the aircrafts was from presently Nur Khan Air Base, back then was Islamabad Airport, which changed into Benazir Bhutto Shaheed Airport. And now it's the Nur Khan Air Base. Nur Khan was one of our air chiefs, great personality, great person, did a lot for Pakistan, especially the Mirages. We are still flying Mirages, by the way. Nowhere else in the world they have been flown. They're being retired, but it's been 54 years. We have been flying Mirages, Mirage 3s, and Mirage 5s, and still the machine is immaculate. So once the first entry of the F-16 along with J-10Cs, the latest fifth generation, you could say fourth, fifth generation aircraft, the stealth we got from China, with the F-16, F-16 that's Block 52, the latest one, which Pakistan got. The latest one could be Block 150. What we have got, that's what I'm saying. The initial ones back in 80s we got were Block 15 and 16. It's the block technology, so the whole aircraft is not modified. Only a few pieces of that one could be replaced. So it's just like the computer, plug and play. So this block technology is working very well in all the aircrafts. So Block 52 were displayed, J10Cs were displayed, GF Thunders, GF Thunder Block 3 again. That's the third block of GF Thunder after the prototype Block 1, Block 2, and now Block 3, which has like more advanced weaponry system. By the way, we used them just a few days ago against Afghanistan and fired our BVRs to shoot the terrorist places. So now, this whole parade of the aircraft used to come in sets of three echelon formation, which is side by side, and one is the lead aircraft, and two are following, one on the left wing, one on the right wing. And they used to break the formation in front of the audience, and one used to go vertical takeoff, and two used to break on their right and left, respectively. Pretty much the same they followed. So F-16s came, then GF Thunders came, then the Mirages came in, then were the F-7PGs, the Chinese aircraft, which is MiG-21's copy. Not copy, I mean, similar kind of technique, technology. And eventually the C-130s came, the Orions came, and then that was pretty much the Air Force show. The biggest roar by the crowd was on when Squadron Hassan Siddiqui, who is Wing Commander now, by the way, Wing Commander Hassan Siddiqui, the hero of the 2019 uh, Pakistani Operation Swift Retort, one of the heroes, although the whole Air Force is credited for that. But I mean, the main names which came in, which actually shot down a Sukhoi 30 and a MiG 21, and we captured Abhinandan, and we gave him back. So that was the biggest roar when the crowd was actually on their feet because he is a hero now in terms of the youth. Everyone knows him, and kind of good-looking boy. For me, he's a boy because yeah, of course, he's a boy for me. And now the second roar was, and that roar stayed for 8.5 minutes all the time when Sherdils were performing. Sherdils are called the Lionhearts, and that had been introduced in Pakistan Air Force back in 80s when this formation flying, learning from the Red Arrows of UK from them, and it became part of a 23rd March. Not very often because I haven't seen in my childhood. It got when I joined Pakistan Air Force at that time. It became part of at least Sherdils were performing on every graduation parade we used to follow because every cadet could see at least 7 graduation parades, including his own. So, and he's a part of 7 graduation parades throughout his cadetship. And so you watch Sherdils for at least 7 times. And by the way, we'll compare Sherdils with Lionhearts with other air forces of the world as well. For example, the Indian ones, Sukhiya Naran. So their acrobatic team, the Red Arrows, the most famous in the world. Yeah, great show. Again, these shows are just to please the eyes of the commoners. And as a pilot, if you see them, you should view them as a normal thing. Like this is just a phase of flying, which a pilot is commencing. So for a pilot, there's nothing special about it. But for the audience, of course, it's like the aircraft's roaring and staying so close to each other and then doing things together. So it shows a very disciplined kind of life, which is actually yes true to the extent. But aviationally, more I will compare bits and pieces of at least these three air forces: Pakistan, India, and England. Because England was, of course, our back in colonial times, yeah, and then we split into two countries earlier in 1971 because Pakistan split into two more countries, in Pakistan now and Bangladesh. So Bangladesh, I'll not compare because I would say that they're doing great. Although their cadets have been, many of their cadets used to come to Pakistan to fly when I was a pilot, when I was flying in mid 90s. So Bangladeshi cadets used to come to Pakistan and get their education and flying experience here. And some of the Bangladeshi cadets back then, now officers, I'm still in touch with. And so basically, we also, just like many passenger airliners, were trained by Pakistan Air Force especially. The same is the case. Many world's air forces are trained, have been trained, being trained by Pakistan Air Force for because yeah, let's come to the Sherdil part. You saw the aircraft used this JL-8. We call it Karakoram 8, K-8 in short. This aircraft, why there's a name of 8 in it, because that was the first prototype made by Pakistan and China, although Pakistan had very little contribution towards the structure of the aircraft. Most of the things were done by the Chinese aeronautical engineers. But the thing was that this aircraft was given a name of 8 because in China, number 8 is considered to be the luckiest number. 8 used just means ba, ba. In Chinese, it's called ba. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then ba. Ba sounds like fa, and fa means good luck, fortune, stuff like that. So even when Chinese go for the phone numbers, go for the cars, license plates, they try to have at least an 8 in their phone numbers and everything. So that's a number. So it's not a series of like GL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. No, it was the first prototype which was totally indigenous and typical Chinese, apart from the engines and the airframe and all the avionics and stuff like that installed on this aircraft was from China, made in China, or some parts were made in Pakistan in Kamra Air Base. So that's what it was named, JL-8. And what was named Karakoram because Pakistan has the peak K2, Karakoram 2. So we are neighbors on these two borders. So that's why the name JL8K8. JL is, by the way, Jiao Lian. Jiao Lian means trainer. So that aircraft came in 1995, and I was among the pioneers in Pakistan to fly this aircraft. So let's have a break here and let's get back to why we needed the K8s back then. Well, there was a project of Super 7, Sabre 7 initially, actually, Sabre 2, Sabre F-86, the American aircrafts, and we were always under the restrictions and sanctions by the US government since 1971. I don't know why we're still allies with them, but every time we needed a favor, we were ditched. And so that was a time when we had to switch to some other aircraft. So that was a time when China came in and we got their A5s, we got their FT5s. Well, that's Shenyang 5, where I am resided at the moment. It was made here in Shenyang. Then was the FT6, team is trainer. So those were the trainers and FT7s, which are now F7PGs. We're still flying them. And then JF Thunder. Sorry, before that, the Jellian 8. Okay, let's stop here. So in 90s, when Soviet Union was disintegrated and Pakistan was the main ally of the Soviet-Afghan war, and we were made the main puppet to actually supply all these weaponaries to the Afghan Mujahideens of that time, by the way, which are called terrorists now. And all this weaponry was supplied by all these NATO countries, Americans, British, French, Germans, and then the Gulf states. So they were providing Pakistan, and Pakistan was supplying that to the Afghan Mujahideens, I would say, the terminology used back then. So, but when Soviet Union got disintegrated, so now why would you need Pakistan? And a government was established of the people which they wanted to have, which are, by the way, the present Taliban's. So the Western forces, they pulled out of Pakistan and put sanctions on us in mid-90s. Pakistan had leased T-37 trainers, A's and B's, in 1968 or 69, something like that. Very old trainers. And we are aeronautical engineers and the ground staff, the corporal techs, chief techs, and junior techs. They are, I would say that hats off to them. They could overhaul the aircraft, and they always made it presentable. I will tell you, I will come to my story because I have been there. I was a part of that time, that era when we had sanctions imposed by the Western countries the first time after Soviet Union dissolution, you would say, when it disintegrated. That was in 1991, 1992, and I was enrolled in 1993. Now, what happened because of these sanctions? We were not given the spare parts of many of the aircrafts, the American aircraft, especially the F-16s, the T-37s, and the Mirages, the French Mirages. We had them, threes and fives. So what to do now? So that was the time when the idea of this Saber 2 was coined in, and we were again looking towards China, and then tried to make a lot of plans. Then it came Saber 7, Super 7. So there were many names given, but actually in 1999, when this the project of JF Thunder, which is now we are flying that aircraft. Uh, so in 90s, early 90s, that wanted to make a trainer aircraft and then just see, just test it, how it's going to work. And because T-37s, we used to call them the Mercedes of the trainers. We just fly 50 hours on Mashak aircraft, the propeller one, and then we switched to the twin jet engine T-37A and B, and that fly almost 135 hours. Mostly it's broken down to circuit flying initially, and then it goes to the general flying. Then you get the instrument flying, then you get the navigation, then you get the formation phase of flying, then you get the night flying phase, and then you have the final handling test with advanced maneuvers. And it's divided into these 7 stages of 135 hours. By the way, it's the same apart from formation, night flying, instrument flying, and navigational flying. Initial, the primary flying training when Mashak, only 3 phases are taught, and those 3 phases are circuit flying, takeoff and landing, general maneuvering, and a bit of advanced maneuvers. That's it. And 50 hours, you complete them in 6 months, and then you proceed to the next level, which is the jet engines. Before that, you have a medical test to make sure that you are able to fly on those heights. The ceiling for Mashak is 8,000 feet, and the ceiling for T-37s were 30,000 feet, which were allowed. It could go up to 35,000, but that's where we used to put ourselves in spins and recover from the spin. So it was a very stable aircraft and twin engine, so very powerful. And we used it for training before going to the Chinese FT5s and FT6s. We used to train on American T-37s, and that's how we convert to FCU, fighter converter unit, and then OCU, operational converter unit, and then we're sent to the squadrons where we fly with the squadron. So basically, it's 6 months of Mashak, 1 year of T-37, 6 months of FT5, and 6 months of FT6s back then. So this total tenure is 2.5 years when a kid and a cadet, he's an officer, by the way, by then flying officer, enters the Air Force. Now, let's get back to my. We had around 20, 25 T-37s, and the lease which we paid off were only 9. And the 16 aircrafts, we haven't paid the leases off. And so the ones which we have paid the lease off, so no matter the sanctions are, they have to provide us with the spare parts and stuff like that, which, by the way, they also stopped. And so what happened that Pakistan Air Force had more pilots than the aircrafts. So that was a setback. So in 1992, the last course was inducted 98th GDP, and then they stopped the course for a year and a half because we couldn't induct pilots because we had more pilots and less aircraft. So what to do? So had a break. So that's a 1.5 year break. But eventually, because the pilots, when they become officers, they have different levels. So we were going to break the cycle. So they didn't want to break the cycle, so they inducted another my course, and they didn't want to break the cycle. So normally, the course was 3.5 years, 2 years of bachelor's in aviation management, and then 1.5 year of flying, and then you get graduated. So when our course came, they didn't want to have the break in between the graduations. Our course was reduced to 2.5 years only because we had a break of a year and a half to cater that one. 2.5 years of break. Oh, sorry, but 2.5 years of the whole course. So now we have to complete our bachelor's in 1 year. But flying was given the same time, a year and a half. Same Mashak and T-37. And 98 GDP, when they were in their BFT, basic flying training, when they already completed the 6 months, these sanctions were not so strictly imposed. But when it came to our turn, bang, 1995, we had 7 functional T-37s in the tarmac. What to do? So that was a time when the first prototype of Jellian 8, Sherdils, present Sherdils, Lionhearts, was sent to Pakistan. And I was flying Mashak, and one day my instructor, he came to me and he said, well, how about if we, because they had to have a consent of the pilot as well. So they said, how about if we sent you to a new aircraft? Now, what else could you ask for? And I said, wow, that's a good thing on my CV that before graduation I'd be flying 3 aircrafts while everyone else is flying 2. And I said, yes. So we were a course of 68 cadets, around 68. Those who reported in PFT, 18 got 18, no, 28 got suspended from flying initial phases. Our pre-solo phase is very, very strict. You have to go solo within 13 hours of flying, 13 hours of flying. So 28 of our course mates couldn't do it. So from Mashak, 40 got graduated. Now, these 40 were to fly jets, uh, twin engine 3037s. And among these 40, they got us down to 8 were selected for the Karakram 8, Jolin 8, JL 8, Sherdils, President Sherdils, and I was one of them, along with my 7 other course mates. And now we didn't have enough jets. So the remaining 32 cadets, they stayed on Mashak and they completed their instrument flying on Mashak, imagine that, and their navigational flying on Mashak. They didn't do formation, by the way. The naval cadets, they did formation on Mashaks too. We didn't have enough jets because 7 to 9 functional T-37s, and then 98 GDP was a big course too. They were in their final term when we were in our semi-final term when we joined the BFT. So eventually, so they flew around 80 hours on Mashak aircraft. The K8 ones, the ones the K8ers, we flew 50 hours in Mashak, and then we had to fly 25 hours on K8, and then go to T-37 and fly everything, navigation and instrument flying. We had to complete it on T-37. So only 8 of us. So it was a different package for us. By the way, the next GDP, the 100 GDP, was also of a year, 2.5 years. But they saw it's too much burden on the pilot. So our course did pretty well, 68, and we have 38 graduates, by the way. It's the second highest in Pakistan Air Force history from the day the Air Force was born till now. The second highest, the first highest was 91st GDP, and they had 39 graduates, and we had 38 graduates. And we still hold the record, the second one. But the 100 GDP, they were already short in numbers, so they were like what? I think 15 or 16 pilots were graduated in 2.5 years. So it was too much burden, I would say. And we are 17, 18 years of age. And so Air Force also thought that, yeah, no, it's too much pressure on the cadets. So let's put it back to 3 years. So now the system is a little bit different. I will not discuss about that system because I'm talking about the old system, which is not a official secret. So I'm talking about the things which happened 30 years ago. So that's how the Jarian 8, K8, JL8 was inducted in Pakistan in 1994. And in 1995, September, we 8 cadets started to fly it, test flying. We were so not prepared that we didn't even have G suits because on T-37 you didn't require the G suit, but because of the maneuverability of this K8, you require a G suit. G suit is the suit which actually absorbs a few of the Gs. So normally, if you could take 6 Gs with a G suit on, that would feel like 4 Gs, and Gs means going against the gravity. So on a passenger aircraft, once on takeoff, you get the most number of Gs. That's 1.5 Gs. So imagine 4 Gs and 6 Gs. So because the G suits are prepared for the pilot's physique and everything, the G suit is a kind of, it locks your chest and locks your thighs up. So once the aircraft is in, there are 2 nozzles coming out, one for the oxygen and one for the G suit itself. So once the aircraft is putting the Gs, the air is used to get filled in those G suits, and they give you kind of compact. Your body is compacted with the G suit, so you feel less pressure on you. Well, height is still the same. No G suit on the head, so mostly you feel G's on your brain. So yeah, once you're going against the gravity, once you're going up, so you're going in that much speed that your blood goes down. Your blood stays there, but your body moves up because it's very fast. So your brain becomes empty and you can get hypoxia, and we call it the G lock. And once you're going down quickly, so your blood, all the blood pops into your brain, and sometimes it could burst the veins. Yeah, these are the dangers of the flying. So what happened? We were now, yeah. So now we had this new trainer with new cadets, 8 cadets who have 50 hours experience. It was just a testing that how our cadets going to behave on this new trainer. So initially we were given 8 aircrafts by China, and we flew them. A lot of mishaps happened. They had Martin Baker seats. T-37 didn't have those. T-37 the old traditional ones, ejection seats. So you have to have at least 300 to 500 feet to eject out of the aircraft. Otherwise, you're going to die. And a BPT flyer, before we reported it had happened, just after takeoff, uh, he got his seat ejected, but nah, the parachute couldn't open it. It didn't have the certain height, so he died. Best pilot trophy flyer, engine failure, and he couldn't land back. So Martin Baker's were the best thing. Well, I had one emergency. My wheel got off, and upon landing, the wheel went away. And the second one was, well, actually, no, my course mate's wheel went away, not mine. Yeah, and he also had, or my wheel went away. I'll have to recheck with that one. One of the gears, once we landed, puffed off, and it crashed the whole runway. And there was once an engine flame out. Once, because once you are on before takeoff, you put 100% power in to check the engine efficiency, and if it's still in the green area, then you release the brakes and perform the takeoff. So once it was on 100% position, the engine flamed out. And I remember my course mate said that his IP was saying, "Ah, man, we should have tested the seat today if it would have happened a minute later." Look at the confidence. Now, this confidence would lead to my comparison of all these planes, this air show. So it's now let's get to this. So I said that's how we got Sherdils, the Lionhearts, and it became a vital part of Pakistan Air Force for training all the kids, cadets, new cadets. So now we didn't have problems in getting the cadets involved in yeah, the initial thing which I said that we had less number of aircrafts, and now I will tell you the intensity. 40 kids, cadets, were supposed to join the basic flying training, and 6 months senior course they had around 25, 26 cadets. Each cadet has to complete 135 hours. Now imagine that, 40 and 26. Now they have done their 6 months, so they're probably left with 70 hours odd each. So still, if you multiply 25 by let's say uh, 70, right? So that's also 1,500 hours, and more than 1,500. And here, 135 times 40. So we had to go for about 4 to 5 thousand hours only on 7 aircrafts. That's it. So when I joined back to T-37s, I used to fly 3 missions a day, and each mission was about an hour and 20 minutes long. And on jet aircrafts, an hour and 20-minute long is still a long, long way. You know? And flying 3 missions a day, whenever the weather was okay, sometimes the weather is down, sometimes, we have aircraft problems, and then who to schedule. So the schedule in charge was also in stuff like this. But anyhow, eventually we did pass that time. We went through that, and we still, Pakistan Air Force has no problems in any terms. So now let's get back to the show. So these are the tough times which we have seen, and I don't know that the latest pilots do they go through all these kind of bullshit or not. But now let's compare. So if you see the Indian acrobats, if you see the red arrows, and if you see the Sherdils, I would love to show you the distance between two aircrafts. Look at the Sherdils. Anyway, but let's break it down. Sherdils, when they came in, um, they they came from the right side of the audience, and the brake was beautiful, I would say, and that's around 200 to 300 feet above ground level. So the right and left most broke towards their direction. Then they were in an echelon formation initially, wing to wing formation, and the leader went up. Now the thing was the coordination and the management was so good. It was 8 minutes and 30 seconds altogether. That because every time when you break off from the formation, you have to come back to the formation and get right next to each other. And they didn't waste any time. Immediately, the number 7 was appointed because he went straight, right? So he just had to make a turn and come back, and then he showed the G turn. And what's the G turn? Max, we also call it max rate turn, where your wingtips are almost at 90 degrees against the ground. Your bank is almost 90, not 90, because on 90 degrees, the lift cannot be sustained and the aircraft is going to fall down. So you keep it below 90. And I'm telling you, it's 89.9. The, we test the limitations of the aerodynamics as well. So it can't be 88.9. It can't be 89.1. It's above 89.5. And this is where, because the aircraft wants to go down, the lift is at the minimum possible conditions. So you have to pull it back really hard to keep the nose up. And you have to keep the nose on the horizon to have a balanced turn. You don't want to go up and down like this. That's not good for the eyes of the audience. I mean, they won't like it. Although probably they would again clap because they don't know what's going on. But a max rate turn or a G turn has to be leveled with approximately 6 Gs, and then you turn back. And the basic idea of this maneuver is that you want to come back to the aircraft with a bigger radius, circle of turn. So right away, one was, and meanwhile, the other aircrafts were in line. So if you notice, initially there were 7, but one was always away doing something. And 6, once they burst, they try to get back together. So every minute, audience had something to see. So, but then this was the other maneuver was the twister. Oh, I love that one. The twister is performing the barrel roll around the formation. And that was a time when 5 were in front and one was performing barrel roll around them. It's very easy, by the way. And you could see the inside view of that one. And every time you would see that there was less than an aircraft distance between wing to wing of the Sherdils. That's bravery. This is their, you would call it overconfidence, but I would call it professionalism. There's even the wings could be on the wings and they would still perform the same thing, but we are not allowed to do that. We have to keep at least, by the way, in Pakistan airports, a 10 feet distance, and that's perception. You don't have a ruler and measuring tape to go and check it. So that's where you keep 10 feet between two aircrafts. Try to. And this was less than 10 feet, by the way. It was 1 to 2 feet in all phases, which they have done. Twister was very good, and the combined barrel roll of all the aircrafts, and which was in echelon formation. Nice, very good. Then this Shaheen break. Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks that these aircrafts are almost hitting each other, and then they go and they break this formation, and one goes straight up. I saw Red Arrows as well. Now they do it with 4. Four of the aircraft they come in, and then the side ones they perform the break. This one goes inside. This one goes inside. So they break in, and these two they go on top. So Red Arrows are professional ones. I mean, the whole squadron is meant to do acrobatic, but Sherdils is not a squadron only for acrobatics. As I told you, they practice when the kids are going through the formation phase. That's it. No extra separate practice, nothing. I've spent there 2.5 years. We've never seen Sherdils apart from the graduation parades or one day before the parade when they are, because they know everything what they have to do. So they don't even practice as a team before the final show. Here they have done a lot of practices. I've heard that there's been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks every day they've been practicing. So that would be the longest Sherdil practice together for any air show. But on the other hand, the Indians and the Red Arrows, they have their whole squadron just for, and the Saudis as well, for the acrobatics. Pakistan can't afford that. We don't have those many jets to assign only for the acrobatic team, but our acrobatic team is doing perfectly well in terms of aviation. If you see the distance and if you see the maneuverability, And this was not Top Gun movie or the Indian fighter movie. No, this was real. It's not CGI. This is what they have shown to the public, in front of the public. So this Shaheen break looks, the formation phase is where the aircraft's powers, engine powers, are set almost at the um, same percentage. I remember we used to put it on T-37, 80% of power. The leader was at 80% of the power. And we, at those who follow, they would always look at the leader. So we also try to be around 80%, but two engines efficiency is also not the same. Their their structure is also not the same. So there was always a difference. So even if both are at 80% of power, with same fuel, with same engines, but there would be one would be faster than the other. So we just need to cater that little thingy. So we used to make little differences in the fuels, little adjustments in the controls, little less than a millimeter or a millimeter to be with the formation. And this is very have to be very precise. Otherwise, you're gonna get into that aircraft, or you're too away from the formation, which doesn't look good. But that's what Air Force teaches. And apart from well, wait, the bomb blast, never done that. I've never done that one. But the rest, everything, all the maneuvers, I have done in my 150 hours of experience. Everything was taught to us. And for formation, we have allocated 30 flying hours. Means even if you fly a mission, that's counted as one flying hour. Even if it's 1 hour and 20 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes, nah, it's considered one. So 30 missions you fly. And after first five solos, you have to, first five missions with the instructor, the sixth one, you have to go solo. If you can't, you'll be suspended. And if you go solo, you become the officer. That's the trademark in Pakistan Air Force. And then it's one mission with the instructor, one solo, one mission with the instructor, one solo. So that's how you keep going. So this was the thingy, which I think I've cleared everything. There's no comparison between any of the forces, but I would rate Sherdils as one of the best acrobatic team in terms of how little they fly together, and yet they produce a wonderful show. Not boring for the audience. It's not a very long show, 8 minutes, 8 minutes, 30 seconds, done, and audience are busy, at least seeing something. And the other one, yeah, that was they call it the tail skid. We used to call it the Cobra maneuver. You've seen in Top Gun for sure, where the aircraft has zero speed, airspeed, by the way, not the ground speed. The airspeed becomes zero. Could it be? Why doesn't the aircraft stall? That's the beauty of this maneuver. And your wings have to be level all the time because aircraft wants to, if any wing is a little lighter than the other one, the heavier the aircraft tends to, dip towards that one. But then you keep it straight going up until you reach zero speed and your nose falls down. And then it takes some time for the wings to get, that airflow getting over them to get the lift, and you're free falling down. And that's when your engines are back in power, and then you just pull back. So that was one of the wonderful things. So I rate the Sherdils show was 10 out of 10. So I hope you enjoyed the parade, the air show, and see you next time. Allah Hafiz.